watching Property TV.
Hello, welcome to Property Matters. I'm Stephen Galpin, and today I'm wanting to talk about the subject of mentoring and education in the property business. And I have with me Hayley Andrews, who's CEO and founder of Your Freedom Empire. One of our favourite contributors on Property Question Time.
Thank
you. Welcome back to the studio, Hayley.
Thank you for having me.
Hayley, it's a matter that concerns me quite a lot, actually. The property business in itself is quite a complex subject. It's difficult to learn about. I've been in property for about 40 years now, and I still don't know it all.
Still learn something new every day. Yeah.
and things still go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to talk first of all about the practicality of these courses. I mean, we see these courses on the internet saying, "Oh, make your millions overnight. You don't need any capital. We can show you how to do it. Come and pay us whatever, and we'll give you a 2-day course, and you'll go away a property expert."
Yeah.
What's the practicality of all this?
Well, anyone that's got anything about them would realise that that's not the case at all. Property, as we've said many times before, is a profession. It is a skill. You will get better at that skill the more deals you do, but it takes time and money for you to be able to get into the industry if you are looking at owning a portfolio and investing in that type of way. There are, of course, creative strategies that you can do where you can get into property without owning a property, such as port sourcing, or we've spoken many times about rent to rent and different opinions on that. But there are other strategies. We can, I'm quite happy to. And so there are other strategies that you can make money out of property. But if you're talking about getting into property, buying, a portfolio and keeping that portfolio for a long period of time, then it requires money, it requires time, and it does require education as well.
Okay, well, I can go with that. I can understand that. But I also think that one of my sort of pet concerns is it's when people go into business and they see these sort of adverts attracting them to courses that seem to offer utopia to them. Yeah. Really, they've got to have a look at themselves, haven't they, first?
Yeah, I think
if they're not business people.
Exactly. So they don't necessarily have to have any business qualification or anything, but they do have to have certain qualities about them in order to kind of step into this industry. It is a cutthroat industry. There are difficult decisions that you will have to make as a property investor, developer. So all parts of the industry has its difficulties. And you're dealing with people as well. So not that that's any different from any other business, that, you still have to make those difficult decisions, etc. But it does take a certain type of person. I think being realistic in what you are looking to achieve and asking yourself, why do I want to become a property investor, or why do I want to become a landlord, is important, and a lot of people don't focus on that. And it's not about talking about your why or bullying all of that up, but it actually does come down to, well, why do you want to do this? What are you looking to achieve? Realistically, how much time do you have to put into this business? And how much capital do you have? Are you prepared to make those difficult decisions, evicting a tenant or negotiating direct to vendor, the best win-win situation?
Yeah, I mean, that sort of takes me on to the next point, really. I mean, Hayley, I'll say right now you're a great contributor to our programmes at Property TV, and we have a lot of time for the way you operate your business, and we know you operate with integrity and professionalism.
Thank you.
That's why you're here.
Yes.
Not all the mentors and educators, unfortunately, do operate in that way. So let's just for the moment assume that we are talking about an operation that has integrity and that does its job properly or to the best of its ability. How would you suggest somebody stress test themselves before going into this, before parting with sometimes many thousands of pounds for that education?
Yeah. So I mean, we actually do this with anybody that's looking to sign up before we take them onto any program. So we understand what they're looking to achieve and can we realistically help them get there with the time, money and current skills they have available. And we're quite honest about that, and do turn people away that don't qualify. So we have an onboarding process. So before anybody buys any sort of mentorship program or packages, they do have a consultation with us so that we can best fit the training to them. So it is very much on a tailored basis.
Okay.
So while we do have online courses and things like that you can just buy offline, of course, realistically, majority of people that are coming or looking to get into this business and they're serious about this business will go down some sort of mentorship program, whether that's with us or any other training organisation. Sure. So the things that we do actually do is we have a look at their current financial situation in, if they just got the money for the course. If that's the case, then they really shouldn't be coming through the training. Are they employed? Are they realistically able to put time aside? Are they realistic with that expectation of themselves as well? You get some people that come through and they say, well, I work 40 hours a week and I'm going to put 4 hours a day in. That's unrealistic around a full-time job. It's doable, but are you prepared for that? Sure. So we set expectations so we make sure that people understand, look, you're going to need X amount of money really to get started if you are looking at buying, holding and recycling that money, moving on to the next one. This is realistically how long it's going to take you to do that. And this is the time you're going to have to put into the business in order to be successful.
Okay, so you'll have a look at them, you'll make your assessments, you'll give your advice on that. Let's say we're over that hurdle. The next thing, before signing on the dotted line, how would a potential, let's refer to them as a student then, how would they assess whether you really are a genuine company that can give genuine, practical and sensible advice? Yeah,
and that's a difficult question to answer because we all do things differently. You and I are very different investors. It doesn't mean to say that how you do it is right and how I do it is wrong. That's not true, Stephen. I don't live across the road. You do. Not quite there yet. Okay. But, they really should be doing this before they're looking at any sort of training. They should be checking out the people that they're, advice is free, but is it valuable?
How would you do that?
So how you can do that is, you can check out the company itself. How long have they been trading for? You want your mentors or coaches to have been in the industry for, my opinion, at least a decade, because they've experienced different market conditions and you can leverage off that experience. You want, you want them to be practicing what they preach. So, for example, I take people around properties developments that I'm doing. So you want them to be actually doing what they are teaching, not just teaching. Yeah, and I think that's just value for you because things change. 10 years ago was different regulations to what it is today, and everything. It's an ever fast moving industry. I always say, Stephen, there's only two constants in my life, and that's my husband, who I met when I was 16, and property. Everything else has come and gone in 2 years.
I've done the property bit. Anyway. Right, okay. Well, look, that's good. And I mean, I think I would add to that. I think a little bit like if you're choosing a builder, go and ask to see something they've done. Go
do
and
their due diligence.
See what they own, see what
they really should be doing that across any professional that they are working with. It doesn't matter whether it's training, whether it's a sourcing agent, whether it's a builder, whether it's, it doesn't matter. They should be doing, approach it as a business. There is a lot of people out there that, are not behaving perhaps as they should do and taking advantage of situations, vulnerable people, and it's up to you, the individual, to make sure that you are confident that that is the right training organisation for you. Okay,
well, just moving on a little then, I've looked at these various courses and opportunities there are, and there seems to me to be two types. There's the one where you perhaps attend for a weekend and you're really wound up and you're given all the incentives and so, go out there and do it. That's
normally the free event.
Oh, right, yeah, go out and do it.
Yeah.
And then there's the rather more serious sort of exercise where you're actually buying into not only an educational course but ongoing support.
Yeah.
And those educators almost seem to have an involvement in your business, and may well do, in fact. So what's the balance between those?
Again, it comes down to the individual that's seeking the training. Some people like to do, and that's how they learn. Some people are quite happy with the theory and then putting that into practice with, a helping hand. I personally, and Your Freedom Empire, don't do joint ventures with our students, but I know lots of reputable training organisations that do joint venture with their students, and it's kind of a earn and learn type of approach. I don't think there's anything wrong with both sides of it. I think, as long as, again, you've done your due diligence on the person before you pay or part with your cash, and they are doing what you want to do or wherever you want to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years, then you can check out their complaints procedure, you can check out their insurance, you can check out their company, you can check out their portfolio. So you can do enough due diligence to make sure that you're minimising your risk as much as possible.
So let's assume a typical operation will have perhaps an open day.
Yeah.
You'll then get a sort of filter down of how many people actually want to do something.
Yeah.
And let's say out of 100 people attending, you get 20 people that say, right, I want to go for this. What would you assess? I know you can only perhaps judge on your own experience rather than talk for anybody else, but what would you expect the success rate out of those 20 people to be? Would you expect all of them to go on to own something in some way, or would you expect some of them to absolutely fail, or to run a mile on the day that it starts?
I don't expect anybody to absolutely fail. I mean, they shouldn't have really come through that filter process if we don't think that they've got what it takes to be successful and the means and resources available to them, utilising, of course, our contacts as well. So it's, how do you measure success? Success to you is very different to me. So do majority of the people go off to build a portfolio in some sort, then yes, but how many of them become multi-millionaires is a different story. So, I mean, success really is measured by the individual and the responsibility of the individual. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's the same as the traditional education system. You go through, you do your degree, you go through school, you do your degree. You're not guaranteed a job at the end of it, or actually guaranteed that you'll be any good at that job. You have the traditional education, and then you have to obviously commit the time and effort to be able to be successful within that industry as any other, and property is exactly the same.
That's all we've got time for in this half of the programme. Join me again after the break when Hayley and I will be talking even more about property business education.
You are watching Property TV. You are watching Property TV.
Hello and welcome back to Property Matters. I'm here with Hayley Andrews and we're discussing education in the property industry. So, Hayley, coming back to the course itself, whatever level or type of course it is, do you find a need? Is it something that you're questioned about? Qualifications to give this advice? Is it something that is brought up often to you?
Yeah, so I mean, as a property mentor, as an educator, you really shouldn't be giving advice. That's, down to the individual professions that you will enlist the help of as part of your business. So it's a difficult question. Do I think it would be good? I'd quite happily take, a training course to get that qualification, but there isn't a qualification currently to teach property. I suppose you're leveraging more off experience. So it's the same as any skill, isn't it? You can you know.
Well, I think there's no substitute for experience, and I think you know,
and a qualification doesn't necessarily equal experience either.
It's not going to help, because you then have to ask the bigger question. Who's dishing out the qualifications? Who's mentoring that?
Yes.
And I think that you know, where you have an industry that's so complex like the one we're in, when people say to me, "Oh, the property industry,"
so
you know, the property market. Well, which bit do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Do you mean shops? Do you mean offices, factories, homes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very difficult. So I can quite see how and why there is no particular formal qualification. I just wondered whether it was a question that you're often asked by your potential students before they sign.
Do you know that you're the first person ever to ask me that question, Stephen?
Oh, I've won a prize for something.
So I think majority of people that, you know, we have coming through that are looking to get into the industry really are looking and focusing on experience, and I would say that is exactly what you should be focusing on, because that's what matters.
Okay, so let's say we've started the course. We've perhaps got halfway through the day, and perhaps our mentor is telling us what an amazing opportunity we've got, and let's say they perhaps don't all act with the same integrity that you do, and it's a little bit of a hype, and we're talking about earning millions without using any borrowed money or, you know, instant success. But I'm not very happy with this. I think it's a bit of a hopeless dream. Yeah. What do I do?
Well, hopefully you would have figured that out with the free events that they give you.
Unless they were particularly good.
If you didn't and you did part with your money, I mean, really what you should be doing, every reputable training organisation will have, you know, terms and conditions. They will have a complaints procedure, and they should have a money back guarantee as well in place. So read all of that before you part with your cash. Yes. You know, minimise your risk as much as possible.
Would you? I mean, let's talk of these as sort of an induction day. Let's say, would you put a bit of space between that and signing up for the course?
Yes, so we do pre-mentorship preparation. So there's quite you know, it depends on obviously the individual and how fast they want to move, but there's always at least 3 months before signing up to anything they are actually doing, because they have to prepare themselves to get the most out of their mentor and the training that they're undertaking. Yes. But of course, this is paid for training. We offer free training as well, so it's a very different approach.
Right. And how do you put those two together? So what's the difference between your free and your...
So the free training is really to introduce you to our training, a taster of that, so you can, you know, have an idea. Do I trust these people? Is this what I'm looking for? Are they realistic, or is it, you know, from my expectations, do I think they can deliver? Are they able to show me deals that they've done and give examples of that, or even walk me around a property? So my training organisation is based in the north of Birmingham. On that street, I have 3 developments. So we can walk across at lunchtime to 3 different developments. And I think, I mean, you can't always do that, of course. You know, sometimes you're doing these training in a hotel or whatever, but I focus on being able to show people what I'm doing rather than talking about it.
You're physically showing them a track record, aren't you? That's what that's about. Well, that's very, very good. Now, typically, where would a mentor and educator get their students from? Would it be solely the internet these days, or?
I mean, majority of our students really do come from word of mouth. So people that I've mentored in the past. Of course, it's not just me. We have a team of mentors. So we currently have 11 mentors dotted throughout the UK, 43 sourcing agents, all being checked out, fully compliant, correct insurances, etc. Our own platform and education system. So it's very, very well thought out practice. But of course, some educators are actually smaller. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's not to say that how we do it or they do it is incorrect, but you can still obviously check them out. Did that answer that question actually?
Yes, I think it does, yes. I mean, I think the problem for people is getting into these things. I suppose, I mean, just looking at it from the outside, I would see the type of person coming into this type of course as somebody perhaps who either wants a change of career, maybe had a period of unemployment and wants to find something a little bit better than perhaps the job market's offering them at the time, or just a simple opportunity to perhaps create a long-term portfolio for either pension or income, as you say.
Yeah, you get lots of different, you get people that actually come that are course junkies. I mean, one of the qualifying questions we ask is, what other training have you done? And what have you done with that training? Because ultimately, people that are coming through our training organisation, their success is our success as well. Although we're not joint venturing, we very much want them to be successful, and we want them to shout about it so that we get more business from that also. You know, so success breeds success, and that's very much what we focus on. So if we get people on that consultation call that have said, I've gone through this training, I've done this, I've done this.
Rings a bell.
The next question is to say to them, well, what have you done with that training? And I turn, and our team turn, many people away that have actually just sat several different courses and done nothing with it. Now, if they come to us and say, Hayley, I've hit a brick wall, I've done this training, and they've taken me as far as I need to go and I need to get to the next level, we have a brick wall mentorship program for that.
Okay.
So it's, again, tailored to the individuals. But if they come to us and they've done all of this training and done nothing with it, we say, especially if they're good, reputable training organisations that I know of, then we say, you've got enough information to go away. Come back to us when you've done something with the training that you've got. And
that's very sensible advice, isn't it?
Yeah,
very sensible.
Because it will just be, you know, somebody that's unsuccessful, and we don't want that. We want them to get the most out of us.
Okay, so let's say I've done my due diligence, I've been through your induction process, I've signed up, I've paid you some money, I'm on your course. How long is my course going to last?
So it really depends. I mean, we've got mentorship programs, so we do pre-mentorship as well. So there's preparation that you have to do before you come through training. But we've got mentorship programs that last 3 days with lifetime support and ongoing support. And then we've got mastermind programs that are 6 to 12 months long. So again, it depends on what have you done, where are you at, what's going to be most beneficial, and what's your driving factor.
On the longer courses, 6 to 12 months, how many days a week would one attend, or a month? Or
so it would be, so you would have an initial 3 days again, but if you're doing a mastermind program, which is a group, it's not a mentorship. So our mentorships are one-on-one. Okay. And I think a mentorship does need to be one-on-one because it has to be tailored to that individual, and there isn't one size fits all or a copy and paste. Because again, it comes down to skill, confidence, you know, working on what are you actually good at and what do we need to outsource, and where do we get those people from, and pulling all of that together for the individual, which is creating their business basically, and running it efficiently. So they would, but on a mentorship program, a mastermind program, which is normally the 6 or 12 months program, that's a group. So we do minimum of 10, maximum of 20, so fairly small group. They are your study partners. So you go through a month-by-month basis with our homework set in between. Okay. But then there are other webinars that you join throughout that month to obviously keep you abreast of the market, and special guests, etc. Introduce them to your power team so that you're continually learning.
And typically, what would a course like that cost?
So a mastermind program, for the 6 months mastermind program, is anywhere from £2,000 in total for that full 6 months, up to £3,500 plus VAT.
That sounds amazing value for money.
It is very good value for money. I suppose the difference there is because it's group. Yeah. So of course the price can come down. Some people want that one-on-one, and some people learn better in a group.
Well, that can be incredibly good learning with a group. I mean, you're interacting with other people.
They keep you accountable.
Yeah, it keeps you accountable. You're hearing other people's queries and questions which you might have missed yourself.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
Yeah, so I think that's a very, very good system.
I don't think anything replaces the one-on-one mentorship. But I do think if cost is a factor, you really should be looking at that as an issue first and foremost. Yes. So you shouldn't be choosing the courses based on what you can afford, because if that's the question you're asking yourself, you should be looking at raising finance and getting yourself in a better financial position. But you should be choosing your education and the courses that you are going to be taking based on your individual need, knowing how you learn. Am I better in a group? Am I better one-on-one?
Well, I mean, a good property principle is to say, well, it's very easy to get into and not quite so easy to get out of if you make a mistake. And so I think it's important one looks at your entry and also considers your exit. And it seems to me that what you're doing is very competently providing that inward induction, but also saying, well, what is your goal? What is your exit strategy at the end?
Absolutely.
And I think this brings me to my final question for you, really, Hayley. What is it, what level of competence would I expect to have achieved after one of these, shall we say, longer courses of 6 or 12 months? How would I stand in the marketplace when I finish this course?
So you should have your full team in place. You should know what areas of...
That's lawyers, accountants.
Yeah, full power team. You should understand and know exactly what areas of the UK you are investing in and why, what strategies you're looking to adopt, how much you should be purchasing for, how much roughly you should be spending on that and what it needs to be worth, what you are likely to achieve from that, and how to do the due diligence on that. So how to qualify an actual deal, understand the research, understand the micro markets in those areas, understand your audience, and be a competent, confident investor. So you should be able to pick up any deal throughout the whole of the UK, or we could arguably say world, but different legal systems, etc. But the due diligence is the same. It's just done in a different approach. And you should be able to pick that deal up and say whether it is a good, solid deal or not.
I'm feeling quite rejuvenated with that. Thank you very much, Hayley. Hayley, thank you very much for joining me today, and thank you for all that information and insight. That was Hayley Andrews, who's CEO of Your Freedom Empire. Very grateful for her input today. Hope you found it interesting. And that's all we have from Property Matters.